Are you feeling tired for no reason? Well, it might be your nose's fault. You ever driving along the freeway, and you're just like, you're making great time, traffic's flowing, and then you look off into the distance, and then then you see it. You see it, that sea of red lights, and it's coming up fast, right? And then you look and you see everyone's blinkers, they're all blinking towards the same direction, everyone's moving over, and then you're like, what? And then you see the sign, the dreaded sign, where it says lane closure ahead. Now, if you live in California, I'm sure you're used to this, right? It's nonstop here, endless road work. That's what we do here. So anyways, you notice all the traffic starting to bottleneck all into one lane, everything's slowing down, coming to a crawl. And you're like, I don't remember any traffic, and you look at your phone, right? Then it updates, and all of a sudden you see your arrival time get pushed back by like 30 minutes. Now, I'm sure you've all been there, right? I've been there a million times. So I'm sure you'd all agree with me that 7 lanes is better than 1 lane when it comes to traveling on the freeway. Years ago, I used to be a pool service technician. We like to call ourselves technicians because it sounds fancy, but really we just pull leaves out of pools. So for me, it was important to get from point A to point B efficiently, right? The faster I could get a pool done, the more money I would make. But whenever we would run into any lane closures anywhere, whether it was the freeway or the regular street, that would just slow down my efficiency, right? So instead of getting maybe 10 pools done that day, I'm only gonna end up getting like 6 done, and then I'm gonna have to roll it over into the next day, and then it screws the whole week up, right? So obviously, when there's no traffic and your job is getting as many pools cleaned as you can in the shortest amount of time possible, you want less traffic because you can get to more destinations. More efficient, right? Now let's imagine that you're a blood cell and your job is just to deliver as much oxygen as humanly possible, right? To all the tissues throughout your body. Now, would it be beneficial if we had nice wide lanes or dilated blood vessels carrying those blood cells and carrying that oxygen to tissues, or constricted tight blood vessels with minimal flow? Obviously, the wider, the better. Of course, you're going to get more oxygen to more areas of the body faster and more effectively. So that's my scientific analogy. So let's get into why I'm talking about this. So 2 words, nitric oxide. It relaxes the inner muscles of the blood vessels and it causes them to widen. This is vasodilation. Obviously, this is extremely helpful when it comes to delivering more oxygen to all of your tissues. So by widening the blood vessels, the nitric oxide helps deliver more oxygen to more parts of the body. And this is obviously vital when it comes to, any kind of physical exertion or exercise, healing and recovery. If you're not getting the right type of recovery in your sleep, you are not going to feel good the next day, obviously. So look, for me, there was obviously other factors at play, right? So I actually had a deviated septum that I had repaired at the end of last year. But for you, it could be as simple as just dust, bacteria, mucus, or maybe you have allergies. Regardless, clearing all that out is going to allow better airflow through the nose. So you could focus on nasal breathing. Because if you are congested, not breathing well through the nose, you are going to mouth breathe, bottom line, because your brain's not really thinking about how to breathe. You're going to just breathe whatever's the most efficient way to breathe. So if you can't breathe well through your nose, then your mouth's just going to hang open all the time. And you'll be a mouth breather. I was a mouth breather for many years. Now, when I did try and make that correction and start breathing through my nose, I found that it was extremely difficult. And that's what led me to figuring out about the deviated septum. Now, chronic mouth breathers, they have at least 4 things in common, okay? They all have brain fog, okay? They all have really poor endurance. Athletically, never seems to get better. No matter how much they train, their endurance always sucks. Daytime fatigue and daytime sleepiness. So those 4 things, they definitely shaped my life, right? So if you are mouth breathing, then you most certainly have lower nitric oxide levels. So as we talked about before, the sinuses produce nitric oxide, which plays a role in dilating the blood vessels. Now, obviously, that improves oxygen uptake, it kills off bacteria and viruses, but the biggest thing is when you mouth breathing skips this nitric oxide enriched environment, this pathway, and then that potentially reduces oxygen efficiency. Well, I wouldn't say potentially. Personally, I'd say it definitely does, but I'm not a scientist, so I can't say definitely. Now, why is it so much more important to have this effect at night? Well, what happens when you're asleep? Well, that's when your body actually recovers. That's when it actually replenishes itself. That's when your hormones rebalance. You notice anybody who doesn't sleep, their hormones are always trash, especially when it comes to men and their testosterone. Anyone with chronic low testosterone oftentimes is because they get really poor sleep. Now, what molecule do you need in recovery? As we've learned, oxygen. But if you're getting poor oxygen delivery throughout your sleep, then you are not going to be recovering right. So once you've eliminated the possibility of a potentially deviated septum, and then you clear those sinuses out, then you're gonna find yourself breathing so much better through your nose that you can actually start keeping your mouth shut, especially during sleep when it's most critical. Now, there are different methods of keeping your mouth shut if you are a mouth breather at night. I, for one, do use the mouth tape. I don't use specialized tape. I actually just use medical tape that just sticks right there and just keeps it shut. I don't even need the tape anymore, to be honest, because I've been doing it for about 4 or 5 months, and now it's just an automatic thing. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not prescribing anything. I'm just saying this did work for me. Keeping the mouth tape on, forcing myself to breathe through the nose at night was a game changer. Things I noticed after training myself to nasal breathe at night, immediately I had enhanced focus mentally. I had increased stamina. That was the biggest thing that I noticed. I could finally start building stamina. So I noticed an immediate uptick, and then motivated me to push even more and work out harder, and then it went up and up and up from there. Whereas previously, anytime I would try and push myself harder or increase the volume of my workouts, I would just become completely exhausted after the fact, and that exhaustion would actually last for days too, so I wouldn't even recover. And then there was a huge increase of my energy levels. Like I say, this is just one of the things that has added to my increased overall energy, and I say the sleep is just so much better. So how do we go about doing this nasal flush? What you're gonna do is you're gonna get one of these little guys right in here. I'm not promoting this company or anything. These are just the only ones I know of. So this little bottle right here, you gotta replace every 3 months. What you're gonna do is you're gonna fill it up to the line right here with distilled water. You can do purified water. I always run any water through my little purifier anyways to filter out the forever chemicals, right? The microplastics, all that stuff. So you need this distilled water to avoid introducing any kind of harmful microorganisms into the body through the nose. Your stomach acid basically kills this type of bacteria, these brain-eating amoebas, they call it. But your nose does not have that same type of acid, obviously. So it could be very harmful running tap water or just not distilled water. You can use purified water, but make sure like it's distilled, I would recommend. I've been using purified though, and I'm fine, obviously. I'm not a doctor, like I said, so do this at your own risk, all right? I'm not recommending anything. Just to go distilled water. You can't go wrong with that. Anyways, you are going to fill it up with that water, and then you are going to add these little packets right in here. And then you're gonna shake it up real good. And then the way you do it is, you're gonna lean over the sink, mouth open, right into the nostril, and you wanna be like that, so that way the water can go out through here and through here as needed. Obviously, you can see me semi-comedically doing it in the video, but that's exactly how I do it, just like that. So, you can also get these guys right here. It's an electronic one. Yeah, I actually bought this years ago before I had fixed my deviated septum because obviously every time I would try and sleep, I couldn't breathe. So I've just thought I had like allergies or congestion or something like that. I didn't realize that my problem was a lot more serious. But I'm gonna start using this guy again, actually, because it's pretty powerful, actually. So the more power, the better. Anyway, so that's how you're gonna do it. So, I mean, obviously I'm really brand new to YouTube here, so I don't know how much comments or interactions I'll be getting quite yet. Maybe people will discover this in a year from now, who knows. Regardless, I am always checking. So if you do try this and you notice that you're feeling a lot better, just let me know in the comments of how this has improved your life, your sleep, your energy, all that stuff. I guarantee you it will, as long as you don't have the deviated septum. If you do have the deviated septum, go to the ENT doctor, get that evaluated, get it fixed. Trust me, it's a game changer. I'm gonna make a whole video on that too. So my final message for you here today is just shut your mouth and breathe through your nose. All right, everybody. Well, this was my first like real video, and hope to see you here for more. Take it easy. The nitric oxide, it helps deliver